Hello, everyone. Good evening. Trust we've had a very good day. Um, it's good to have us in class once again. So we're just going to wait for 2 minutes to have more people join us, and then we'll kick off immediately. Okay, I think we can start now. So if you couldn't hear me before, it's because I wasn't speaking. But now I am speaking. Can you confirm on the chat window that you can hear me? Can anybody confirm? Just say I can hear you. Okay, so all right, that's great. I guess you can hear me then. That's great. All right, so without wasting so much of our time, um, we're going to continue from where we stopped yesterday. But for today, we are going to be doing some hands-on and some practicals, right? So this is what I'm going to do because this is a virtual session. I would request that you rather pay attention and watch me, right? Especially for the practical session. This call is being recorded, and you have access to the recording on YouTube even after now. Um, so you can always go back to the recording and then now do as I have done at your own pace. All right. For those that are learning this application for the first time, if you want to follow me on the call immediately, we are going to have a lot of lags because we're not going to be moving at the same pace, right? So I'm going to try as much as possible to be slow in my explanation and in my demonstration, but I would advise that um, I would advise that you follow me closely, okay? So I think we can get right on it. But before we get into all of that, I would like to finish yesterday's presentation. I think we're almost done, but I needed to stop because of our time. So I'll just pick up from where we stopped yesterday. So just give me a moment to share my screen. We're going to share the screen. Share. Hi. Uh, so I will just take us back to where we stopped yesterday. Hmm. So I think we stopped here. Okay, this is a good place to kick off from. So I'm not sure if my screen is being displayed already. Just a minute, let me confirm that. Okay, yeah, my screen is up now. Okay, great, great. Okay, okay, so just let me know. Okay, it is up. Yeah, okay, that's great. Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of a lag because of the network. So that's more reason why for the demonstrations that we're going to be having for the next few weeks, I would advise that you just follow me. Don't do anything, just watch, observe. You could ask questions. I would stop at intervals to take questions, right? But for your practice, you can do it after the class. Okay. I'm going to answer all your questions about um, how to go about the practicals and the demonstrations and all of that. Just don't worry, I have you covered. So just give me a moment. We're going to comment from where we stopped yesterday. Hmm. Okay, so yesterday we started discussing Microsoft Power BI in more details, right? And the first thing we looked at was the Microsoft Power BI desktop. That was the first thing we looked at, the Microsoft Power BI desktop, and I explained to us that the Microsoft Power BI desktop is a um, it's a free application that you install on your local computer. It allows you to do your ETL, your transformation, your modeling, your visualization. It allows you to build your report from data source to the report stage, end to end. The Microsoft Power BI desktop allows you to do all of that to get insights from your data. But the most important thing to note about the Microsoft Power BI desktop is that it's a desktop application. So you have to download and install on your local computer. Okay. You have to download and install on your local computer. I spoke about the best way to go about downloading and install. Best practice is to go to the Microsoft Store on your Windows laptop. Go to the Microsoft Store on your Windows laptop and search for Microsoft Power BI Desktop, download from the store and install. It's a very simple process. Just go to your Microsoft Store, download there, and install. Once the download is completed from your Microsoft Store, just install it immediately. Once the package has been installed, you can start making use of the application. Okay. So that's the Microsoft Power BI desktop. But one most important thing about the Power BI desktop is that it's a free desktop application. So you don't pay to use Microsoft Power BI desktop. It's completely free. That's something that you need to note. Okay. Now the second component that I'm going to talk about is the Microsoft Power BI service. Okay, the Microsoft Power BI service. Now, the Microsoft Power BI service is a software as a service application. It is SaaS service, software as a service, and it allows you to connect your reports, your dashboard, your workspace, your models. It allows you to connect everything together in a single location. Now, the major goal of Power BI service is for report sharing. Okay, for report sharing, and I'm going to explain to you now. Remember, we started by explaining Microsoft Power BI Desktop, which is a free application that you install on your local computer. You download from the Microsoft Store and you install it on your computer, right? Now, you can use Power BI Desktop to build your reports, which is fine. You can connect to your data source, whether your data source is in the cloud or your data source is on-prem. Wherever your data is, you can use Power BI Desktop to connect to it and build your reports. Now, the application is called Desktop, Power BI Desktop. So it means that whatever you've built, whatever reports you've developed is local to your PC. It's restricted to just you. But remember, the goal of business intelligence is to what? Make informed business decision. So for you to enable stakeholders to make informed business decisions, that report that you have developed on your desktop needs to be shared. So to share it, we take it from desktop and we publish it to the Microsoft Power BI service. So Power BI service is a cloud environment, while the Power BI desktop is a local environment. That's why you have to download and install on your local PC. But for the Power BI service, it's a cloud environment. It's a software as a service. So it means that everybody in the cloud can have access to it. Of course, there's security. So not just everybody, but the specific people that you need to have access to it. When we get to that module for managing our data assets, I'm going to talk more about Power BI service, and then we'll go into that environment and do some exploration there. But the goal is for you to share your report. So the report you built on your desktop, you can publish it to service and share it with as many persons as you want within the service. There are some technicalities involved in sharing your report in Power BI service. That's when we begin to talk about the workspace. We'll talk about your tenants. We talk about visitors and all of that, right? But we'll get to that when we get to the managed data assets phase. I can see some people still complaining on the chat window that my screen is not showing. Um, I I believe my screen is showing, right? So maybe those are earlier comments. All right, so that's desktop and service. Let's quickly go to the final component, which is mobile, which is Power BI mobile. That's the final component. Now, imagine you've built a report on your Power BI desktop and then you've published it to your Power BI service. Okay, thank you for the updates. You can see my screen. That's great. You build the report on Power BI desktop. You publish it to Power BI service. Now, remember, Power BI desktop is local and remote to you alone. Then Power BI service, you publish it for every other person to see. Now, assume that you are out of the office and then you need to get an update from your reports. Okay, you need to get an update from your reports. You can access your workspace where you publish the reports to in Power BI service. You publish to a workspace. All right, you can access that report directly from your mobile phone with the Power BI mobile application. So there is a mobile version of Power BI that you can access. Now, now that I'm talking about the mobile version, allow me to just chip this in. For Power BI service, you need a license to use Power BI service because the goal of Power BI service, like I said earlier, is for collaboration. for collaboration. That's the goal of Power BI service, right? So it means that for you to share your report for other persons to have access to it, you need a license. And then for those people to also view the reports that you've shared with them and collaborate on that report, they also need a license, right? So Power BI service is license based. There are different types of license. There's a free license, there's a pro license, and there's a premium license. With the free license, you have access to Power BI service environment, but you cannot share the reports because you're using the free license. But with the pro license, you can share your reports to other pro users. All right. And with the premium license, you can share your reports with other premium users. Do you understand? So there are three types of license. There are other types of license which I don't want to go into. It's more for enterprise solution. All right. There are other types of licenses, but it's more for enterprise solution, right? But the basic license that you need to know and understand is the free, the pro, and the premium. The free means that you are the only one that have access to the Power BI service environment, and you cannot share your report outside that environment to others because you're just using the free version. Now, the pro license means you can share with others that are also having the pro license, and the premium means you can share with others that are having the premium license, right? What's the difference between pro and premium? It's just capacity, basically. It's the capacity and what they can do, right? Most times premium license is used for enterprise organization, very large organizations where you have over 1 to 5,000 Power BI users. All right, at that point you want to use the premium license. And also the size of the data model, all right, is also very large. I think I can't remember now. I think for premium license the data model size is like 100 gig. For pro it should be like 10 gig. But there's a difference between the size of the data model for pro and for premium, right? So there are some other features that makes it different from each other, but the most important thing you need to know is that for a regular SME, small scale enterprise, you can use a pro license, right? Even for large organizations you can use a pro license, right? But for an enterprise organizations you need a premium license, and most importantly because you have a lot of BI users running into thousands. All right, but if your BI users are just running into tens or 100, a pro license will do. Okay, so I don't want to waste so much time on that. So you need pro license to be able to share your reports in Power BI service and in Power BI mobile. But with the free version, everybody can have access to the reports, but just limited to themselves alone. All right. So that's basically the component of the Power BI application. So let's talk about how everything is tied together. All right. How does the desktop, the service, the mobile, how do they interact with each other? How is it tied together? Okay. Remember the first point of call, you must never forget this, is you always start from your data source. You want to understand which data source am I trying to connect to. All right. When you know your data source, you know the connector to use, then you are able to extract the data. Where are you extracting the data to? You are extracting that data into the Power BI desktop. Okay, so you go to your data source and you bring the data into the Power BI desktop. Remember, the data can come from different sources. It doesn't have to be a singular data source, all right? It can come from different sources. You bring it into Power BI desktop. Desktop is local and it's local to you alone, right? It's on your PC. And then you can build your reports because you have access to the data source. You brought it into Power BI desktop, and then you can build your report from there. Once you're done building your reports, remember the goal is what? The goal of business intelligence is what? To make informed business decision. You cannot make informed business decision when the report is sitting on your laptop. So the goal is to share the reports. That's the goal. You want to share the reports. And that is where your Power BI service and your Power BI mobile comes into play. So when you publish or you share that report, people can have access to it on their mobile phones and on their laptops. All right, they can have access to it because Power BI service is a SaaS solution. It's a software as a service solution, right? So you can have access to it. Now let's talk about some of the things we mentioned yesterday. Power BI desktop, you need a Windows laptop to run Power BI desktop because you are downloading it, right? To use Power BI service, you don't need a Windows laptop. Any system, any operating system that you're using is fine as long as you have access to the internet. All right, then you can use Power BI service. For Power BI mobile, any type of device you're using, whether it's an Android device, whether it's an Apple device, an iPhone, you can have access to Power BI mobile there. The only restriction is Power BI desktop, where you need a Windows PC for that. Okay, that's the only restriction. Power BI desktop, because you need to download and install the application there. Okay, let me pause at this junction to take questions. Do we have questions before I move on to the next slide? I'm not seeing any question, or is it just me? What are the limitations between the three packages? Okay. There is no, I won't say limitation between um the three. Someone said my voice is echoing. My voice cannot echo. I'm in the same space I used yesterday, so I don't know where the echo is coming from. And there's no feedback from here. I'm using just one device, just my laptop, no phones, no extra screen, so it can't echo. So let me attend to that question. Limitation between the three. There's no major limitations like that. I already explained that Power BI desktop, you need a Windows laptop so you can build your reports. The goal is when you build your report, you want to share your report. So the users can differ. All you can be doing can just be building reports in Power BI desktop, while another person's role is to analyze the report, interact, collaborate, analyze with the reports from Power BI service, right? But they all work hand in hand. If you want to build a report, you go to your Power BI desktop, you build your reports there. By the time you are done building, it's just like think of yourself as a developer. All right, so you develop an application, right? By the time you're done developing the application, you want to publish it to the app store so that people can start making use of the application, right? So think of Power BI desktop as that development environment where you build your application, right? And then by the time you're done building your application, the goal is for people to use and interact with that application. So you want to publish it to the app store. Think of your Power BI service as an app store environment where you publish your report so that people can make use of it. Is there a way of sharing your reports if you don't have Power BI service? If you do, you mean you have Power BI service, what you don't have is the license. You can go to Power BI service as I'm speaking with you right now. You just go to app.powerbi.com, app.powerbi.com. You have Power BI service. The issue is that you don't have a license. Of course, I forgot to mention that to use Power BI service, you need a work email because it will ask you to sign in, right? So you need a work email or a student email. You need an official email. Basically, you can't use xyz@gmail.com, at yahoo.com, and all of that. You can't use, you need a work email or a student email to use Power BI service. You need a professional email. So as long as you have that, you have access to Power BI service, but it's just the free version until you purchase the license. Okay, so I think I would like to move on. What's the difference between report and dashboard? I'll get there in the next slide. Mhm. Okay, as an educator and a researcher, how can you adapt Power BI to your field as an educator and as a researcher? Okay, so let me say this, that Power BI is an analysis tool for reporting. All right. So if there are aspects of your research field where you work with quantitative and where you do quantitative analysis, where you work with numbers, then of course you can use Power BI to do all of that. I gave a scenario yesterday on the different types of reports, different types of analysis rather that you can do, right? So it depends on the data that is available. Remember, it's a tool for data analysis. So for you to do your analysis, you need data. Okay, so that's the most important, regardless of the field. As long as you have data, and you can build a report from that data. Then you can do your analysis. Yeah, that's Emmanuel. Can you use Power BI instead of SQL? Power BI instead of SQL is for data storage, data manipulation. Power BI is for reporting. So if you want to do your reporting, you do your reporting in Power BI. The email Power BI allows you to register with is a work email. Um, okay, someone suggests that we take Q&A last. Okay. So how can you send your reports? Someone is asking, how can I send reports from Power BI to GitHub, for example? Okay, so from Power BI service, you can generate a public link that allows you to share reports. If it's a public data, you can generate a link and then you can embed it to wherever environment you want to embed it to. Um, how do you choose the right visual for your data and reports? We've not gotten to visualization, we'll get there. Um, Having this license, is it from our desktop? So the license is for Power BI service environment, but when you have the license and you've used it in your Power BI service environment, you can sign in with your username and password on your desktop so that you're able to publish from your desktop to the Power BI service. Yeah, but even if you don't have a license, you can still, as long as you have a work email, you can publish from desktop to Power BI service. Okay, so let me move on with the remaining portion, and we can go to the next items that we have for today. So I'm just going to continue now. And then if I've not answered your question, you can drop it for the next time we're taking questions. So let's talk about the building blocks of Power BI. So there are two major building blocks of Power BI. We have the semantic model. So semantic model is basically um, semantic model is your data from your different sources that you've extracted and transformed. All right. That data, when you've transformed the data, you've done your modeling, you've written your calculation, what you have, the end product of all of that process is your semantic model. Okay, I'll take that again. Your semantic model is your raw data that you've extracted, you've transformed, you've loaded, you've modeled, you've built relationship, you've written calculation. The end product of all of that is what you call your semantic model. It's your numbers that are now that has been processed and is ready for analysis. Now it's that number that you can now use to start creating your visuals. So your visualizations or your bar chart, your pie chart, your table visual, your metrics visual, your card visual, all of those visuals, it's the numbers from the semantic model that is powering it. So the semantic model is your raw data that you have transformed, modeled, written calculations on. That end product is called the semantic model. And then that is what you use to build your visual. So that's the building block of the Power BI. Those are the two building block of Power BI. Now, allow me to just chip in something. Um, okay, someone is saying my screen is frozen. So allow me to chip in something, right? In Power BI, remember I said from desktop you build your report and then you publish it to the service environment, right? Now, in Power BI service environment, you can build something called an app. An app basically is a combination of your reports, your dashboard, your model, your semantic model, with combination of your report, your dashboard, your model, you can bring everything into a singular solution called an app that can now be shared across board within an organization, right? So in Power BI service, you can build an app. An app is basically a combination of your report. So let me explain it this way. Imagine you've built reports for different units within an organization. Maybe you've built reports for the sales team, you've built a report for the marketing team, you've built a report for the product team, you've built a report for the human resource team, you've built a report for different units within an organization. And you want to share all of those reports with a particular set of people, you can bring all of those reports into a single solution called an app, and then you can share it across board. So in Power BI service, you can build something called an app. Someone is saying my screen is still frozen. Please, what can you see on my screen? I'm still on the semantic model and visualization screen. That's where I am building blocks of Power BI. Okay, so I'm still getting complaints that my slide is frozen. Please, what can you see? I'm still on the building blocks of Power BI. What can you see on my screen? Let me know what you can see. Semantic model and visualization. Okay, how it all works. That's where you can see. Okay, so that's going to be an internet issue. So give me a moment. Let me see if I can fix this frozen screen. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to fix the screen issue. I think I'll have to reshare my screen if you still cannot see my slide. Some people are already freaking out. Sorry about that. Don't freak out. I'm still here. So I've stopped sharing. Yeah. Um, so I'm going to reshare my screen. Just hold on. So I'm currently resharing my screen. Um, do let me know if you can see my screen. I think everything should be better now. Better? Okay, that's great. That's great. All right. Okay, so let me just run through the semantic model and visualization one more time. So I said that the semantic model is the processed data. So remember, you start by doing your ETL. You extract the data from the data source, you transform the data, you load the data, you model the data, you create relationship. When you are modeling the data, you build relationship, you write calculation. Building relationship and writing calculations are part of data modeling. Building relationship and writing your DAX calculation, all those your formulas, they are part of modeling. So that your data that you have modeled is called the semantic model. It is a finished processed data. You can now pick that data and start doing your visualization. Okay. Now, remember, I said yesterday that in some countries, all you need to do is just to do ETL as a data engineer, where you're working in an organization, you go to all the different data sources that they use in that organization, you extract the data, you transform the data, and you load it into a warehouse. When you load the data, sometimes you can go a step further to build relationship and write calculation, and then that's all your job entails. While another person, as the data analyst or maybe the visualization analyst, all you do is to go there, take the semantic model that the data engineer has already prepared. You take that semantic model and you just build your report. You just do your charts, do your design, do the UI, the UX of your report, and then you can publish it. So your semantic model is the processed data where you've done your ETL and your modeling. That end result is called the semantic model. It is that semantic model that is now powering the visuals. That's the number that is running the visuals. Your visuals are your bar charts, your pie chart, your donut chart, your column chart, your card visual, your line chart, your area chart, your metrics visual, your table visual, your waterfall chart, your KPI visual, all of those visuals and charts, your map visuals inclusive. All right, that's what you call visualization. So these two items are the building blocks of Power BI. Your semantic model, which is your finished processed data, and then your visualization, which are the charts that we see. Are we good? And then remember, I also said that when you combine different reports together into a singular solution, it's called an app. So you can combine different reports and models together, reports, dashboard, and data sets together. It's called um, an app, and you can share that app across board depending on what you want to achieve. Yeah, so there are so many visuals. We have native visuals in Power BI, and if you are not satisfied with the native visuals that come with the Power BI desktop application, you can go to the Power BI App Store and import more visuals. Some of them are free, some of them are licensed, but there are a lot of visuals that you can import. Trust me, you can't run out of visual. Okay. All right. So let's quickly go to the next bit. So the next bit now is question and answer. So I'm just going to quickly run through the Q&A with you, and then we can go into what we have for the rest of today. Okay. Um, so I have question and answer. Very quickly, let's just run through this. Let's start with the first question. What is the common flow of work in Power BI? A, B, or C? Just drop your answer. If it's A, just say A. If it's the second option, say B. If it's the third option, say C. So we're dealing with the first question. Question one: what is the common flow of work in Power BI? Not showing. But some people are answering the question. So how is my screen frozen? Ah, God, I beg. So some people can see, some people cannot see. It's interesting. Nigerian network has failed me. It's not displaying the question. Oh my goodness. So where are you guys getting the answer from? Okay, I'm going to reshare. I'm going to reshare. The network is running crazy this evening. Apologies for that. So I'm going to reshare my screen. Just bear with me. Um, I have two different networks here, and nothing is they are both nothing to write home about. So let me share a particular window. Let me share this. This is my screen. So guys, I'm sharing my screen again. Apologies. It's not up yet from my end. Still waiting for it to come up. Yeah, I know you have the slide. I can see you have the slide. I know. That's why I didn't send today's slide. I already told. Okay, so my screen is up from my end now. I already told the admin that I'm not gonna share the slide with you until the class is over. So when I shared the first Q&A yesterday and I saw everybody were getting the answer, I said, nah, I know where all of this is coming from. So don't worry. Today's slide, this is still yesterday's slide, but you don't have today's own. Trust me. Yeah, I'm going to be sending them after the class so that you don't see the answers to the questions. But I mean, you can still try, right? Okay, so let me go to the next question. Now that my slide is up, so most people said B for the first question. Let's see if you are correct. So yeah, you're actually correct. B is the correct answer. So let's look at the second question. Um, okay, B, a lot of B's again. Okay, oh, that's good. It's good to know that you actually get in it, even though you have the slides. I mean, this is a bonus today. Yesterday and today is bonus. So the final question says, a collection of reports and dashboard in Power BI is called what? So we're on the final question. We're on the final question. I'm seeing B. I'm seeing, okay, number two, B. I'm seeing C. We're on the final question. Okay. Okay, number two, B. Yeah, but we're on the third question now. Someone said BBC. God, I'm big. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, yeah. So the final question is actually C, right? Which I already explained, right? So that would be everything about what we're supposed to cover yesterday. So since we're finishing yesterday's lesson today, I had this from you. I'm sure you're used to this already from the previous facilitator, Musi. So you can share what you've learned both yesterday and today on social media. Feel free to tag your facilitators and prepare for the next class. But the next class is now, right? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can put up the screen for the next. Okay. Someone is asking for my name on LinkedIn. Can anybody on the chat window respond to that? Let's see if you remember. I'll respond to it, but let me see if you remember. Someone said Femi. Okay, so I think you have the name there. That's correct. Abiodun Akinfemi. Wow, correct. Good stuff. Great. All right, so I think I can share my screen for the next slide. So I'm going to take this guy down. Ooh. And I would just give me a moment to put up the next slide. So I'm going to share my screen in a bit. Window, AI Bootcamp now. Okay, so let me see if it's already displaying. So my screen would come up any moment from now. Once again, apologies for the network fluctuation. So I'm waiting for the screen to come up. It's still in transit. Still waiting. Someone said this network seems better. Yeah, but apparently, so my fiber network for yesterday has been down throughout today. So there's no better network in this country, sadly. I use your so I think I might need to reshare my screen since it's not coming up. I don't know why. Okay, so my screen is up now. All right, great. So I think we can move. So we're going to move at a faster pace now because of all the delays that we've had. Okay, so for today, we're going to be going straight into our ETL. I've said a lot about ETL, so we're going to delve more deeply into ETL today. Let me be sure that, okay, my screen is falling good, great. So for ETL, we have several objectives for today. Number one is we're going to learn how to get data. Number two, we're going to learn how to profile the data. We would learn how to clean and transform the data. We would learn how to load the data into Power BI desktop, right? So these are the objectives for today. We'll look at how to get the data, profile the data, clean and transform the data, then load the data into Power BI. All right. So I'm just going to say this now. For tomorrow, we are going to be doing a lot of practical session tomorrow. All right. But for today, I'm just going to cover some of the theoretical aspects so that once we go into the demonstration, it's easy for you to remember some of the things that I've explained. But if we still have enough time on our hands today, then we'll touch at least one of the lab. We have three major labs to deal with for this particular section of ETL because I've broken down our learning into different sections. We're going to deal with ETL. We're going to do with modeling at another section where we'll talk about relationship and DAX. Then we'll deal with reports, creating reports and dashboard in another section. And in our final section, we'll deal with managing all our data assets, right? But for this first section, it's all about it. And we have three major demonstrations, lab practicals that we are going to deal with. Okay, don't worry, all the resources will be provided to you. Don't worry about that. So let's put in more details yesterday. I'm just going to talk about it a little bit further today. So yesterday I explained the different types of data sources that we have. We have hundreds of data sources. Your data sources can be grouped into on-prem and cloud. You on-prem means that your data is stored within a physical location. You need physical access for you to get the data. You need physical access to get the data stored within a physical location, right? Cloud means you can connect to the data through the internet because it's stored in a remote location in the cloud, right? I don't want to go into the nitty gritty of cloud and on-prem, right? But two major sources. Okay, so my screen is going up and down, but I think it is back up now. The voice, my screen is showing from here, so let me know if it's showing from your end. Okay, guys, sorry, I need to find a way to solve this internet problem. Just give me 2 minutes, please. You should be able to hear me now, but just give me 2 minutes. My screen. You should be able to hear me now. Let's start with that. Can you confirm that you can hear me? Just say I can hear you. Let's start with that first. Um, let's start with that first. If you can hear me, just say I can hear you. I'm seeing no sound. If you can hear me, let's start with that. Just say I can hear you. Okay, so I can see, I can hear you. Great. Now that that has been sorted, I'm publishing my screen. If you can see my screen, just say I can see your screen. Let's go to the next phase. If you can see my screen is live. Just say I can see your screen. Okay, so we've sorted the audio. Let's sort the video now. Let's sort the visual. Okay, so I can see the first. I can see your screen. All right, loud and clear. Okay, good. I can see your screen. I can see your screen. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's just pray that this is my third network for today. All right, and let's pray that it should be stable. Okay, so let's quickly go back to where we're coming from. Data source, right? So I've said that your data source can be different. You can be connecting to different data sources, right? Regardless of the data source that you're connected to, Power BI allows you to bring all of those different data sources into a single location using your Power Query editor. So in Power BI desktop, there is something called the Power Query Editor. The Power Query Editor is inside the Power BI desktop. Let me explain it to you this way. The way you have your house, in your house, you have rooms, you have bathrooms, you have dining, you have living room, you have kitchen, some even have store. The way the kitchen is inside the house is the way the Power Query Editor is inside the Power BI desktop application. So if you want to access the Power Query Editor, you can access it directly from the Power BI desktop. All right. The Power Query Editor allows you, or Power BI desktop has Power Query Editor inside of it. The same thing for Excel. And that's interesting that a lot of people do not know that you can access Power Query Editor directly from Microsoft Excel. But of course, I know that everybody on the call is aware that you can access Power Query Editor directly from Excel, because I'm sure the previous facilitator must have mentioned it, right? So Power Query Editor is the tool that we use for data transformation in Power BI. Okay, it's the tool that we use for data transformation. So now that we have our Power Query Editor, we can now bring all our data into Power BI desktop. Okay, so this is basically how your ETL works. You have your data sources, all right, then you have your Power Query Editor, and with your Power Query Editor, you're able to bring all of these data sources into Power BI desktop. So Power Query Editor is what is linking your data source and the Power BI desktop application. So with your Power Query Editor, you're able to pull all your data sources into the Power BI desktop application. Now, there's something very important that I also need to communicate with us. I understand that not everybody here is a beginner. We have some people that are also intermediates, right? Um, there is a way Power BI interacts with your data that you need to know. There's a way Power BI interacts with your data that you need to know. All right. Because you can be asked this question um, at an interview to say that in Power BI, where is your data stored? All right. In Power BI, where is your data stored? All right. Or how does Power BI interact with your data? That's a typical question that you could be asked at an interview. And as a data analyst, you're expected to know the answer. Remember that with your Power BI, you've already gone to the data source to extract the data. So when you extract the data from the data source into Power BI, how does Power BI interact with the data? How is the data being stored? Where is the data being stored? These are questions that you could be asked. And that's part of the reasons why you are here. And these are some of the extra tips that those that are not beginners that have been working with Power BI, these are some of the extra things that you could also learn. Now I'm going to be talking about the different types of way Power BI interacts with your data source. The first is the import mode. Okay, import mode. Now, the best way to explain import mode to you that you won't forget is Control C, Control V. Control C, Control V is what? Copy and paste, right? That's basically what import mode is doing. So when you're interacting with your data using the import mode, this is what Power BI is doing. Power BI will go to the data source. It will copy the data. You could use the word cache, C-A-C-H-E. It would copy the data or cache the data, and then it will store the data in the Power BI desktop file. It will store a copy, a sample of the data in the Power BI desktop file. That's why it's called import mode. Import, it's importing the data. It will copy the data, it will cache the data, it will store the data there in the PBIX file. That's the name of the file extension, PBIX. All right, so that's the first mode of connection, and that's like the most common mode of connection. All right. Now, there is another mode of connection, which is the direct query mode. The direct query mode. Now, this is getting more technical, right? And that's why I said for those that are also intermediate on the call, you'll be able to relate with this better. Of course, the beginners can also pick one or two things, right? For the direct query method, Power BI, the interaction is different from import mode. In direct query, Power BI is querying the data directly from the data source. That is why it is called direct query. It is not importing the data. It is not caching the data. It is going to the data source and interacting with the data directly. So there is no transfer of data from source to application. There is no transfer of data from source to application. Power BI creates a live connection with the data source and it interacts with the data directly from there. Now, the implication is that if there is a disconnect between Power BI and the data source, your report will be rendered blank because there is nothing to display. All right, that's one of the downside of using direct query mode. All right, but one of the advantage of direct query mode is that if your reporting requirements your reporting requirements states that you need to have a real-time update on your report, then you would want to use a direct query mode, because as the data is changing from the source, it is reflecting on the reports, right? As the data is changing from the source, it is reflecting on the report. So these are the two major types of data storage mode in Power BI. It means that this is how Power BI stores your data or interact with the data. I'll go over it again. The first mode is the import mode. Import mode means that Power BI goes to the data source, looks at the data source, scans through it, and then it will cache it. You could say copy and paste, right? That's the layman's way of explaining it. So it will cache the data and store a sample of the data in the data source. Now, when you're working on project, one of the questions your clients would ask you is that because when they hear you are transforming the data, they get scared. They'll be like, we don't want you to touch our data. Don't change the state of our data. Now, you are not changing their data at the source level. Power BI does not have edit access or write access on your data at the source level. What Power BI does is, if you are using import mode, it will just copy a sample of the data, it will cache the data, and it will create a local copy in the application, and it will be interacting with it from there. The state of the data at the source level remains intact. When you are using direct query mode, the same thing occurs. It will go to the data source and it will be interacting with the data directly. Now, the interaction is not changing the state of the data at the source level. Rather, it is interacting with it so that it can render the data on the reports in the Power BI interface. Okay, so there is direct query mode, there is import mode. Import mode, there is a movement of data. Power BI will cache a sample of the data and display it. What happens when the data has been updated? Power BI will go back to the source and cache the updated version again and render it on the report. But when you're using direct query mode, there's no need to be caching anything. It just interacts with the data directly from the source. Now, when you're using direct query mode, because Power BI is not caching the data or the data is not being cached, there is a limitation to the transformation process that can be applied when you're using direct query mode, because Power BI does not have that full flexibility to interact with the data the way it would love to. All right, so there are some limitations with direct query mode. It means that there are some things you cannot, there are some transformations you cannot do if you are connected using direct query mode. You can only do them with import mode, because with import mode, Power BI has cached a sample of the data and it can interact with it however it pleases. So the most common mode of interaction is import mode. But remember, if your reporting requirement requires a live update, all right, a real-time update, then you want to use direct query mode. There are ways in which you can use import mode and still have a real-time update on the report. There are ways around it, right? But I'm just giving you standard practice. Now, there is another storage mode aside from these two, which is known as the dual, storage mode. The dual storage mode is a combination of your import mode and your direct query mode. The dual storage mode is a combination of your import mode and your direct query mode. It's a combination of your import mode, and it means that, let's assume you have 7 or let's say 10 tables in your report. Now, out of those 10 tables, you've extracted data from different sources and you have a total of 10 tables. All right. Let's say 4 of them are using direct query mode and the other 6 are using your import mode. That is dual. So some tables are connected using direct query mode, some tables are connected using your import mode. That is dual. So you are using a combination of both import mode and direct query mode. Okay, so we understand import mode, we understand direct query mode. So import mode is more of copy and paste. The data is being cached into the Power BI file. Direct query mode is you are creating a live connection with the data source, and once there is an interruption in that connection, it would affect the reports that is being displayed. But direct query mode gives you real-time updates on your reports because a live connection is being created between the report and the data source. Dual mode is a combination of import mode and direct query. It means that some tables are using import mode, some tables are using direct query mode. There's a final one which is similar to what I've explained, and that is the direct lake. Direct lake. Now, if your data source is using if your data source is using um, is if you are using a Microsoft Fabric data source and you want to have a direct query connection, it is called direct lake. Now, remember, you have different data source, on-prem, cloud, hybrid, and all of that, right? You also have some Microsoft Fabric data sources, right? If you are using one of the Microsoft Fabric data sources and your connection mode is a direct query, it is called direct lake. So direct lake is what? The direct query mode for a Microsoft Fabric data source. I'll take it again. Direct lake is the direct query mode for a Microsoft Fabric data source. Okay. Direct lake is the direct query mode for a Microsoft Fabric data source. All right. Direct query mode, we definitely need a stable internet, right? Of course. Yeah, especially if your data source is in the cloud, definitely you need a stable connection. So those are the things you want to consider when you determine which import mode, which storage mode to use, whether using an import mode or a direct query mode. You want to look at the security restrictions. You want to look at the internet connectivity. You want to also consider the volume of the data that is being queried per time. You want to consider if you need a real-time reporting or if you want a scheduled refresh report. So there are a lot of things to consider, right? But you need to understand how Power BI interacts with the data. These are the four different storage mode: import mode, direct query mode, direct lake, and the dual mode. Okay, so let's move on to some other interesting stuff. So I'm going to talk about data profiling, right? When you've extracted your data, because I just finished explaining extracting data from different data sources and the storage mode that are involved. When you've extracted your data, the next thing you want to do is to profile the data. Before you can transform the data, you want to understand the nuances of the data. Okay, so you have to carry out something called data profiling. One of the data profiling method is column quality. You want to check the quality of the data in each of the columns on your table. You want to check the quality of the data. You want to check the quality of the data. You want to know how many, if the data is 100% valid, if the data is contains errors, or if the data contains missing cells, if there are missing data in that column. So that's what we call data quality. Those are the three things you're checking. You want to check if it is valid, the validity of the data. You want to check the percentage of error in the data. You want to check the percentage of empty cells in that column. You want to know if there are empty data in that column. So that's the column quality. So one of the first profiling you will do is column quality. The next is column distribution. Column distribution, you want to understand how the data in that column is distributed. Okay, you want to understand how the data in that column is distributed. Now, there are two things you check when you check column distribution. You check the unique values and the distinct value. I don't know if you've learned about that in the previous sessions, right? But you want to check the unique value and the distinct value. Okay. Now, unique means that that data is appearing just once. That's the meaning of the word unique. It's gotten from the word uni, U-N-I. Okay, no problem. I would explain it. Unique means that it is appearing once. It is unique. Uni, U-N-I, means one. unique, one. So it means that that data in that column appeared just one time. Distinct means the different types of data that you have. That's what distinct means. Now, I need you to pay attention to what I'm explaining, because what I'm explaining here on column distribution is the bedrock of data modeling. What I'm explaining here is the bedrock of data modeling. Unique means that data in that column is appearing once. Distinct means it is the different types of data you have in that column. That's distinct. Distinct, different. Unique, one. Distinct, different types. Unique, appearing once. Distinct, different types. Unique, appearing once. Do we understand? Do we understand? Let me see your response in the chat window. Do we understand? Okay, you understand. Great. Now I have a question for you if you say you understand. In a classroom, there are 5 boys and 1 girl. In a classroom, there are 5 boys and 1 girl. How many unique gender do we have in that classroom? In a class, there are 5 boys and 1 girl. How many unique gender do we have in that classroom? How many? I can see somebody saying 1. I can see somebody saying 2. How many unique gender? How many unique gender do we have? I will repeat the question one last time. In a classroom, there are 5 boys and 1 girl. How many unique gender do we have in that classroom? Some people are saying 2. Some people are saying 1. I love all the responses. Thank God nobody is saying 3. It's even better to say 1 or 2 than to say 3. Okay, enough with the response. Thank you very much. So I said, how many unique gender? Remember, I said distinct means different types. Unique means appearing once. So if I say how many unique gender, I mean how many gender is appearing once. Remember, there are 5 boys and 1 girl. It means that we have just one unique gender, which is the girl. Somebody said boy and girl. God, I beg. Which is the girl. One unique girl. Is only 1 girl, one unique gender. 1, not 2. Now, how many distinct gender do we have in that class? Let's answer that question now. How many distinct gender in a class of 5 boys and 1 girl? How many? See, please, let's not joke with the answer. Please, I know we are having fun, but I'm already seeing 6. I beg, let's not joke with the answer. How many distinct gender do we have? Someone said 2 distinct. A lot of people are saying 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Great. 4. Okay. Hey, God, I beg. Okay. Okay. I guess it is well. Keep saying 15 and 14, right? No problem. That's how you go answer the question when Microsoft is asking you, Abi. No problem. I said I'll check for the cost of the exam. Okay. So we have 2 distinct gender. We have 2 distinct gender. Remember, I said distinct is what? Different types. So when I say how many distinct gender, just think of it as how many different types of gender do we have in the class? 2 boys, girls. But how many unique gender do we have in the class? 1 girl. Now, stop with the response. I want to ask you another question now. In a class of 3 girls and 1 boy, 3 girls and 1 boy in a classroom, 3 girls, 1 boy. as simple as this question is, this is the bedrock of data modeling. So you need to understand this concept. I beg, I can prostrate for you. You need to understand this concept. You have a class of 3 girls and 1 boy. How many distinct gender are in that class? In a classroom of 3 girls and 1 boy, how many distinct gender are in that class? 3 girls, 1 boy. How many distinct gender? Everybody should be getting the answer by this point in time. So a lot of people are saying 2. 2 is the correct answer. 2 distinct gender means 2 different types of gender, boys or boy and girl. Now, how many unique gender do we have? Unique. A classroom of 3 girls and 1 boy. How many unique gender? Unique gender do we have? And what is the gender? What is the gender? Because some people can just say 1 like that and they don't know whether it's the boy or the girl. What is the gender? Okay, somebody said boy. Okay, that's correct. 1 boy, that's correct. Thank you, Sanebs. Okay, that's correct. 1 unique boy gender. Very good. So I love, you guys are very brilliant. Thank you very much. Now, I have 2 more questions though, because I'm trying to reinforce the concept of data modeling here. In a classroom where you have 4 boys and 4 girls, hold on, think before you respond. 4 boys, 4 girls, 4 boys, 4 boys, 4 girls. How many unique gender do you have? How many unique gender do you have? 4 boys, 4 girls. How many unique gender do you have? How many unique genders do you have? 4 boys, 4 girls. How many unique gender do you have? Somebody said 0. Another person said none. Wow, interesting. After all my explanation, somebody is even saying null. Another person said none. Wow. Are you sure you got the question? 4 boys, 4 girls. How many unique genders? Somebody say 1 boy. Good. Another person saying 2. Good. If I catch you, okay. So the answer is actually 0, right? I was trying to throw some people off, but those that said 0, null, none, they are all correct because I have 4 boys and 4 girls. The boys are appearing 4 times. Nobody's appearing 1, so the boys are not unique. The girls are appearing 4 times, so nobody's appearing 1, so they are not unique. So I have 0 unique. But how many distinct do I have? How many distinct? 4 boys, 4 girls. How many distinct? How many distincts will I have? How many distincts will I have? 2 distinct, right? Boy and girl. Very bland. Now, the final question. In a class of 1 boy, 1 girl, how many unique gender? How many distinct gender? 1 boy, 1 girl. How many unique? How many distinct? 1 boy, 1 girl. How many unique? How many distinct? In a classroom of 1 boy, 1 girl. How many unique? How many distinct? Somebody said 2, 2. Nice one. Two distinct, 0 unique. Nice one. 1 boy, 1 girl. How many distinct? How many unique? Another person said 2 unique gender, 0 distinct. I'm loving what I'm seeing here. Think about it too. Somebody who said non-distinct, 2 unique. God, I won't faint. God, I'm big. Interesting. I'm seeing interesting response. I know that even if you are getting the first question, the second question, the third question, by the time I ask this final question, I will see wonders. Somebody said 1 and 2. You guys are cracking. You see this person saying 8. If I throw you punch. How many A class of one boy, one girl. How many distinct gender? How many unique gender? Okay, let me just give you the answer. The answer, somebody said none. Wow. The answer is because I have one boy, one girl. The distinct gender is two. There is boy, there is girl. That's two distinct gender. Distinct is different types. So how many different types of gender do I have? Two. How many unique? Unique means they are appearing ones. One boy, that's unique on its own. One girl, that's unique on its own. So there are two unique. So the answer is two unique, two distinct, or two distinct, two unique. Or you can say 100% unique and distinct. If the number of unique and distinct is the same, it is 100% unique and distinct. Are you following me? It is 100% unique and distinct. It is 100% unique and distinct. Now, when you hear that a column, pay attention, guys. No more response. Yeah, you can alt the response now. Thank you very much. God bless you guys. You guys are very intelligent. When a column is 100% unique and distinct, when a column, please pay attention to me, when a column is 100% unique and distinct, it means that there are no duplicates in that column. It also means that that column can be a primary key column. What I'm teaching you is the foundation of data modeling, even though we are still doing data profiling here. It means that that column is 100%, there are no duplicates in that column. It means that that column can be a primary key. I use the word can be because we can have other columns that are 100% unique and distinct. But when the column is 100% unique and distinct, means that the number of unique is equals to the number of distinct. There are two unique, there are two distinct. Or in another example, maybe there are 100 unique, 100 distinct. It means that there are no duplicates there. There are no duplicates there. Guys, can you give me an example of a data that is 100% unique and distinct, or that can be 100% unique and distinct, also known as a unique identifier? Can you give me a data that can be 100%, an example of a data that can be 100% unique and distinct? In case you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll give you an example. Matric number. Somebody said ID. Bemi Sola, that's very beautiful. Thank you for that. Someone said matric number. Someone said NIM. Another person can say BVN, phone numbers. You guys are intelligent. Good stuff. I love what I'm seeing. Matric number, phone number, ID, NIM, customer ID, phone number, BVN, account number. You guys are intelligent. You guys, staff ID. I mean, what are people doing in this class? Tax ID. You guys, come on now. Serial number. Awesome. These are beautiful. JAMB registration number. Okay, it's okay. Enough response. So those are example of data that are 100% unique and distinct. It means that two people cannot have the same matric number. Two people cannot have the same BVN number. Two people cannot have the same phone number. Two people cannot have the same NIM. So it means that those type of data, they are called unique identifiers. If you put them in a column, two distinct persons cannot share the same ID. So on that column, it will be 100% unique, 100% distinct. If you put 10 people in a column, you know, two people can have the same name, two people can have the same surname, two people can have the same first name. But if you put them on a column, those two people cannot have the same matric number or BVN, for example. So you cannot use their names as a unique identifier because their names might not be unique, but you can use their fingerprints. God bless you, Sheon. You can use their fingerprint, you can use their BVN, their matric number as unique identifier. So how do you know the unique identifier in your data? Column distribution will tell you if there are unique identifiers there. Are we good? The next thing is column statistics. Column statistics just tells you the statistics of the data in that column. The statistics of the data, what's the maximum value, what's the minimum value, what's the average, what's the mean, all of those, what's the number of rows in that column, the count. That's what column statistics tells you. So for every column, you can profile it to know the statistics, and then value distribution. Value distribution tells you how the data in that column, how they are distributed. For example, if you have 4 different types of data in that column, it tells you that A has 59, B appears 33 times, C appears 16 times, D appears 18 times. So it just tells you how they are distributed. So all of these are how you do your data profiling. All right. These are how you do your data profiling: column quality, column distribution, column statistics, and value distribution. Okay, I want to believe we are learning something. I think the network has been stable for a while now. Okay, so now that I've explained all of that to us, the next thing here is to do a lab session. The next thing here is to do a lab session. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this lab session. All right, good. So I think we have like 20 more minutes on the call. I will try and simulate a lab session for the remaining minutes. Now, remember, I did not share the resources so that I can get your attention. I've been training for some years now, and I know that when the lab sessions are ongoing, there is always that tendency for the delegates, the student, the participants, whatever nomenclature you want to use, there is always that tendency for them to also do as you do. And it's possible for you to do as I do, but you need to have the system, the equipment to be able to do the same thing. For example, if you have 2 screens, you can be watching one screen for the class and using another screen for the demonstration. But most people are probably just using one screen. So it will be difficult for you to be switching between the lab and the demonstration. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to reshare my screen. I would share the slides with us and the link to the lab. I'll share the slides with us and the link to the lab. Since I've not completed this slide, I will divide it into 2 and only share the part I've covered so that you don't, yes, I don't make the mistake I made yesterday. So at the end of today, I already discussed with the admin. I will share the slides with us, and I would also share the link to the lab environment with us. Okay, but for tonight, for the next 20 minutes, I want you to just watch the lab sessions, okay, as I do it, and they can now go back to do as I have done. Okay, I believe we're all good with that. That's the best way for you to learn, right? So I'm going to be resharing. I'll stop sharing my screen and I would have to reshare. I'll have to reshare a particular window. How do I want to do this? Okay, so let me do this. Let me cancel. Let me move this guy to a different window entirely. I could share it. Okay, so let's run it again. Share screen. Okay, no problem. Let's run it again. Share screen. Window. Share. So let me confirm if the screen is going up. So hold on. I'm currently sharing my screen, but it is not live yet. I need to be sure that I don't have anything blocking it. Okay. Hmm. It's not up yet. Just be patient. I can see it. Don't worry. That's why I've not said anything. Okay, so it should be up now. Um, so it should start showing from your end. Okay, so my screen is up. My screen is up now. Okay, so now let me do a little bit of introduction here. All right. Um, so for some of the labs, we are going to be working within Microsoft environments. And for some of the labs, we are going to be working outside the environment. Now, for the labs that we are going to be doing within the environment, it is to reinforce the concepts that we've discussed during the class. Okay, so we would reinforce those concepts working in the Microsoft lab environment. Now, why do I like using the Microsoft lab environment? Because there is a way Microsoft has designed that environment that it caters for every possible scenario you want to think of. All right, so when we simulate the Microsoft environment in the class, we will now go outside that environment and work with an entirely different data to now test your skill, your understanding. Okay, so for some people might be familiar with this environment, but by the time we are done with this, we'll now go to an entirely different environment, which will be more on your local to work with a different data set. But to reinforce the things we've explained in the class, we're going to start with this environment. So I'm going to share the link to this environment to the admin immediately after this class. All right, and you can have access to do the same thing. So I'm just going to walk you through it. Now, the first thing you want to do if you're using this environment for the first time, you need to set up your Microsoft Learn account. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. You will see here, you can see there's a sign in here. So if you don't have an account, once you click on the sign in, you can create an account. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to wait for it to be off from your end. All right. So I'm signed in already. So I'm going to share this link to this environment with us after the class. I intentionally did not share it before the class so that we don't get distracted and all of that, right? So after the class, you have access to this, and then you can work within this environment. So I'm just going to try to sign into the environment to show us what it looks like, and then from tomorrow we can now begin to delve into working within the environment fully. Okay. So for now, all the things I've explained to you, you can come back to read them up here. All right, you can come back to read them up, but towards the tail end, you would see an exercise which is to get data in Power BI desktop, right? So this is basically what I'm going to be accessing. All right, so I'll just wait for it to load, and if you are not signed in, it will ask you to sign in. There you can create a new account, but if you're signed in, you can just launch the lab. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to say launch lab. When you click on launch the lab, it might bring up all of this verification process for you to verify that you are not a robot, and then you can start the lab. Now once I click on start the lab, it will open a different window for me. So I would reshare that screen for you to see what it looks like. Okay. So I'm going to hit the start the lab button, and then a different window will launch, and then I can share that with you. So let's do that now. Start the lab. So now a different window is up, and I'm going to share that screen with you. So I'll stop sharing this, and I'll share the lab environments share screen. So in a bit, the screen would come up. Okay. Okay. Um, so the environment is up. So this is basically what the lab environment looks like. So I'm going to share a link to this environment with us after the class so that we can have a look and feel of it. All right. So to navigate through the environment, we have the main windows here, and then um, we also have the instruction manual here. So I'm just going to use the instruction manual to follow the instruction and then simulate the lab, right? But I'm not going to be doing all of that today. I just wanted to introduce to you the lab environment, and then we can walk and do some simulations here in the next session, all right? But this is basically what lab environment is. All what you need has been installed and configured for you, so all you just need to do there is to simulate your work there. All right. But both the instructions, the application, everything has been installed for you. So all you just need to do is to follow the instruction and then to simulate your work. So we're going to delve more into this more. But remember, this is just to reinforce some of the things that we've explained in the main session. And we are going to work with a different data set outside this environment to do more like a knowledge check to be sure that the things we learned, we understand it and we can apply it in a real life scenario. Okay. So that will be all for today. I'll stop sharing. That'll be all for today because it's almost or already 9 p.m. and we can kick off from here from tomorrow's session. So thank you very much to everybody, and we can continue from here tomorrow. I want to believe that you were able to learn one or two things from tonight's session. So someone is asking, does that mean we don't need to install? So if you are working in the lab environment, you don't need to install. But if you are working on your own environment, on your own PC, you would need to have installed the application. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody, and see you in the next class.